Hello, welcome again. We're back in the show and we're featuring the party list group called Melchora. Now, before we took a break, we were talking about the deprivation of the female gender. Ang pagkakawawa sa mga babae. Tama nga naman eh. Pero alam mo, tayo, pag hindi nangyayari kasi sa ating mga pamilya, ano tayo eh, talaga, puro ganun na lang eh. Pero wala ka talagang, hindi mo mararamdaman eh. One of her friends in the studio, Pastor Saicon, who's come in to watch and be part of the show, well, he's not going to sit, has said, you know, the real issue is, okay, it's bad enough when man and woman become separated and they have real issues, whether it be spiritual, financial, or whatever. But the offsprings, yung mga kabataan, yung mga bata, mga anak, what happens to them? I have a very quick story to tell you. When I was in high school, I went to the States on a youth exchange program. And in one of my classes, I had a nun for a teacher. And the class, I think, was catechism. And there was one thing, I was very close to the nun, I remember. But there was one point that she and I disagreed with. And because of that, we became very unfriendly towards each other, which took many months to repair. She said that once you are a product of a separation, chances are 90% you will turn out to be one and the same as your parent. So there I was a product of a separation, and I was there in school, and I was in my second year of high school, and I took offense. I said, hey, why should I suffer the same fate? And why are you telling me I'm going to make the same mistake? Interestingly enough, 30 years later, I made the same mistake, and it did happen to me. I'm not saying she was correct, but do we have rights? In that case, I'm talking we as in 30 years before. Today, do the offsprings, do the children have any part in this? When their parents separate, for whatever, they fall out of love, or because of money they separate, or because one becomes an OFW and goes abroad and has another family there, and what? Maririnig naman lahat natin yan dito. Or nag-away. Nag-away kasi sa pera. Nag-away kasi sa isa pang babae, sa isa pang lalaki. Kung ano man yun. Ano mangyayari sa mga bata? May mga rights ba itong mga bata nito? Or sabihin na lang natin, wag na pumasok dito sa eskwela na yan. Kasi, alam mo, split yung mga magulang yan eh. Parang gano'n. There is something wrong there if that is going to remain the case. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, they too have rights. Let's go back to the show. Let's go back to you, Grace. You've had a very harrowing experience with what's happened to you, which has brought you to the forefront of being the front runner for Melchora and being one of the people behind it. How do you expound the concept on children? What's your take on the children that come out of relationships like this?
No, that's the reason why, well, that was what I was explaining a while ago, diba? That was that's the very idea why I want to have those
para sa mga bata.
Para sa mga bata. Kasi di ba kung kunyari yung nanay mo makikita mo talaga na lugmok, you know, is so depressed, you know. Pati ikaw, yung mga anak din damay eh. That's what I was trying to tell you. What become of the children is basically what the mother is, di ba? Pag masayahin yung nanay, masayahin din yung mga anak.
Tama yun.
Hindi ba? Pagka yung nanay mo kunyari cold, normally the children are also cold. And as a mother, what will you give if you have nothing to give? Kasi you are so ruined inside. You are so broken inside. Kaya nga sabi ko, di ba, siguro, gano'ng kabait yung Diyos, di ba, yung pinatagal niya ako to stay in England and also in the States para, you know, for me to see the difference and to bring it to the country. Hindi ba kasi meron sila community therapy center. Di ba na pwede mong ipadala.
Tayo ba walang ganon dito?
Wala. Well, mga NGOs, but it's not enough. You know, we need psychologists talaga, overseen by psychiatrists. Pag nakita nila, kasi tingnan mo ha, ang i-expect nila dito sa atin, tayo sa pamilya natin. But what they don't know is, everyone is grieving also. You know what I mean? Or everyone is also hurt by that whatever problem there is that's happening to the family. Lahat yan, damay, di ba? We're all touched one way or the other. Now, that's when an outsider or a professional help should come in.
Attorney, in the law, wala bang rights mga bata sa mga sitwasyon na ganyan?
Well, children, normally, if they're illegitimate, they only have an entitlement to support and the right to carry the father's name if he would acknowledge the child.
In our laws, we don't allow illegitimate children. We give them less privilege. Is that what the law is saying in the Philippines?
Well, not necessarily, pero ganito, I handle annulment cases myself, and what I see is, in terms of support, kapag separated na yung parents, it's not consistent. It doesn't come consistently to
Pwedeng
the children
iwanan.
from the father.
Yeah.
Oh, because there's no way the court can compel you. The father can just say, I don't have the means to support my children anymore. When in fact, meron pa. Pero you can just tell that to court. And the
So
court
kulang
cannot
tayo sa
force
batas
you.
pagdating sa ganyan.
I would say, well, I think the ideal situation pa rin is we have it in the law to give support, but it becomes an option for the father.
Ay, hindi pwede sa
normally.
Amerika, hindi pwede
Hindi,
sa UK
talaga.
yan.
But
Talaga
yes,
doon
that's
Ipepreso ka
fine.
nun.
Tsaka sila binabawas nila sa sweldo nila, di ba? They can do that.
They can
Yes,
do that.
actually, they meddle with employment
Yes, yes.
and they take it immediately.
Yes, they
Yes,
take it
if the
immediately.
person is negligent in maintaining with the consistency sustenance. Oh, tama yan,
Diba?
tama.
Oo.
Dito wala ano.
Wala.
So you will introduce this in Congress.
Yes.
Actually, I like what you said earlier about expanding the grounds for annulment. In my experience, as you said, it's expensive for couples to obtain annulment.
Yes.
And in my experience also, a lot of people enter marriage by, what do you call that? It's shotgun marriage, meaning nabuntis, and then you get married. It's not necessarily because you're in love. So you
Or-
regret, and then
yes.
you leave each other.
What would you
Or
do?
people also, let's take it also as an adult, no? Siyempre, pag bata ka, that's true. But minsan as an adult, you just fall
Fall out of love.
You just fall out of love. I mean, really, kailangan ba natin pilitin yung
Yes.
magsama yung dalawang tao na, you know, usually,
Pero
I
the
think a
church
partner-
says you have to stay together in life until death do you part.
Yeah, but God said also to be happy. Di ba? So, which is which?
Ako, ang problema ko naman with that, you have to work on the marriage, etc., is in my experience, clients circumvent it. So they're legally married, they stay legally married, but as a matter of fact, they are
Separated.
with other people
Yeah,
already.
di ba? That's the height
And-
of hypocrisy,
Oo,
di ba?
and ang problema is, as you said,
Totoo.
those people that they are with, that they are happy with, they've chosen to be with, should have rights and should be recognized as their present
Let me tell you
spouse.
something, because I think for every successful person, you know, there is really a partner that is.
Yes, inspiration.
Behind every great man is a great woman.
You
Huh?
know,
yeah.
well, I don't
And
want to
vice
say,
versa.
and then vice versa.
Oh,
Kasi ako,
see?
hindi
Very
ako,
good.
hindi ako ma-gender. I look at people as people, okay? So, each has its strength and weaknesses, okay? Ang tingin ko lang is, parang, dapat lang talaga, di ba? Yung we can, restructure our life kung magkakamali tayo, di ba?
Yeah,
Yung-
yung, as you were saying,
Pwede
redemption.
mag-reset, start all over,
Hindi,
reboot.
well, parang gano'n,
Oo,
ano?
may
Hindi
option
naman,
na ganun.
kasi partners should support each other. At yun nga rin yung hindi ko maintindihan kasi. Like the vow, let's say when you get married in church, okay, regardless of what church it is, you make a vow. But what if one partner fails, di ba, to live the vow?
For whatever
To make-
reason.
to
For
make-
whatever reason, yeah.
No, in the
Hindi naman
Philippines.
pwede naman, di ba, Harry, kunyari, papakasal tayo dalawa, sabihin mo, oh, in sickness and in health.
Dapat pareho.
Oo, di ba?
Negosyo,
Dapat pareho
sige
yun.
na.
Grace,
In
problema
happiness
natin.
and in sadness.
Ang issues kasi sa atin, ano tayo, we were grown, raised, taught with a Catholic teaching, which is very structured and restricting.
Conservative, very
Very conservative when it comes to marriage. Now, anong nangyayari? It's called the sacrament, and this is, the union cannot be taken apart. Now, when it comes to the masses, should they be allowed? This is what you're saying. Let's amend the laws to make it more convenient or more rational. Because after all, what you're saying is the reality of today is not what is written of what it's supposed to be.
Yes, exactly.
That's what frustrates you.
It frustrates me dahil yung masahista ko may similar na storya. Hindi ba? Yung labandera ko,
But she's made to
ganun
suffer.
din. But
She's made to suffer because
She doesn't have
ang
the
mga
means.
batas natin, bawal dapat yan.
Tsaka, or is it's not made available for them? Di ba? So, ano gagawin nila? Di ba? Wala. They will just move on with their lives
Stay
unlawfully.
married. Unlawfully.
Unlawfully. So, they are not protected. Lawfully. Which is, di ba, yung Amerika nga, tignan mo naman yung kanilang basic right in pursuit to di ba? In pursuit
of
to happiness. Why can't we have that?
It's a basic human right.
That's a basic human right.
Happiness.
Exactly.
Pwede na ba kaya? It's 2012. Do women have rights already in the
Why
Philippines?
not? Come on. Sabi ko kasi, dalawa na naging presidente nating babae, di ba? Ilan ang senador natin. I mean, ilang babae nang namumuno I think women are already creating a tide, a change or a mark in society. I think ang Pilipinas, we should start moving on. This is funny, ha? I was watching one Oprah show, and she went to India. Well, you can research on this. And then with how Oprah is, diba, she's very, how do you call this, emotional. Sabi niya, what? Egypt only had divorce 10 years ago? So I was screaming on my TV and said, wait till you see the Philippines. We don't even work. That's a no-no.
Wala pa tayo niyan, di ba?
No.
Pinag-usapan pa lang ngayon yung batas ng divorce. And already, tinatamaan na yung Malacanang. They're trying to introduce it, and
Yes.
immediately, they're
Get
being
shut
subjected to
Yeah, it gets
criticism.
shut down.
They're getting shut down by the church. What do you do in a country that is predominantly Catholic? Like the church here is very, very strong. Ano maganda gagawin dito sa sitwasyon
Hindi
na
ba
ganito?
kailangan may separation of church and state? Pagdating
Yun na
sa
nga di ba? There should be a very strict, kasi dapat it's our call. Conscience call mo yun di ba? Na kung hindi, I think religion should be our gauge for conscience. Correct?
Not restriction.
Not restriction. Our religion should not define us.
It becomes regulation.
Exactly. What should define us? Diba?
Do you
Is
think
how
it's going
you-
against the church when you go against its readings? For example, yan. Let's allow divorce, or let's make it easier, or let's make it more palatable to have annulments, is what you're saying. Do you think it's an affront to the church in its teachings?
No,
Katoliko ka naman, di ba?
I'm Roman Catholic.
Oh, Roman
kaya,
Catholic. See?
But the thing, kaya nga sabi ko sa'yo, ayaw na kung hindi palatable ang divorce sa atin, because that is our belief, then since annulment is being done in the Catholic Church in itself, maybe we
Totoo.
can just widen it, di ba? Luwagan lang natin.
May family code na nga ngayon, di ba?
Di ba? Luwagan
it allows
natin.
it.
Let's make it available even to those
There are, no? We allow
to the
annulment.
poor
No,
people.
yes, we do.
May annulment na tayo.
May annulment tayo, pero sino lang nakakapagpa-annul? Yung kaya magbayad ng psychologist,
Ayun.
ng abogado.
So, yun ang position mo. Wag lang dapat sa may kaya, ibigay natin para sa lahat.
That's my point. Equal rights dapat.
Equal
That is my
rights.
point. It should be equal.
Especially the marginalized who don't have the money.
Exactly
Just
my
because they're
point.
poor, don't live the misery of life. I mean,
Exactly.
face the music. So what would you like to do? Would you, so local government will make it, will allow annulment na para hindi na mahal, in other words. Make it a public service.
Yes. Or,
Wow,
just
naiiba
make
ka
it-
rin, ha? Gagawin mo public service yun.
Hindi naman
Sabagay,
public
it's
service,
gutsy.
but it's giving them their basic human rights. Diba? It's handing it to them. It's giving them their freedom of choice.
Grace-
Akala mo ba freedom of choice natin pwede parang freedom? It's just as, I think it's even heavy, it's even diba? It's deeper than the freedom of speech. Kasi yung speech niya, minsan nakakasakit ka pa eh. Pero yung freedom of choice, that's you.
Grace, how about education? Will the Melchora party list do anything about educating our women about their rights?
Diba, that's what I was trying to say. Alongside with the therapy center, it could be actually a venue to educate women of their rights, or to, alam mo, turuan mo lang
Yeah,
sila
I
to
think
move
that's
on and
important.
then hook them up with livelihood programs para hindi naman sila normally matatakot ka lang naman kung wala kang papakain sa mga anak mo eh. Matatakot ka lang kung kunyari mahina yung loob mo. Pero kung may rarating ka, to tell you can do it, kaya mo yan. Di ba? We're not everyone's blessed with a real friend who would push you when you need it most, or a family that is open to these things.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was gonna ask about children of the disadvantaged children, for example, that are the products of these kinds of relationships.
I was going to say, sorry.
Yeah.
There was a study made in the States kasi I went to the Juvenile Delinquency Center of San Francisco. And the head there said na most of those that are in the juvenile delinquency centers are basically product of, again,
Broken families.
Yun na nga, alam na nga natin eh. 'Di ba? May study na eh, 'di ba?
effect.
Mas lalo ngayon
Bakit
dito,
hindi natin,
Solution.
why can't we be proactive by giving a preventive solution, 'di ba? Solution to all this chaos.
You're right.
Hintay natin munang pumatay sila. Babalik na naman 'yan. Or hintay natin sila magnakaw, 'di ba? Pero kung umpisa pa lang, turuan na natin sila maging malakas. Yung nanay nila makita nilang very strong. I am also, Mike, I have 3 children who are, but they're all matino. You know what I mean?
They're not juvenile delinquents.
Si
so-
Juan Ponce Enrile, Senator Ponce Enrile was also a product of a broken.
Yes, he was.
His brokenness, I guess, is also just is
Mas malala nga yung
mas
kanya.
malala yung kanya. But look at him. He is a very productive and admirable person, right? I mean, I don't know, I admire him very much. And
No, I don't know about the truth of the last movie that he made. I'm not sure about
Oh,
that.
I don't want to talk about into that, but
I think you're right. There's a very high percentage of family disorder in the country, most especially because of OFWs. People who leave to go for work, be
That's
it man
really,
or woman. They have
Long-distance
taken
relationship
long
talaga
distance
yan.
relationships. And these go on for years and decades, which grow the man and woman apart, and the children being left to themselves.
Harry, how many, ang statistics natin, let's go, we can talk.
Mataas na
to
mataas
those.
yung broken family.
Or yung lungkot nila sa mga OFW, sila nagkaka-affair doon sa abroad. You think it's fair for the partner that's left behind?
So, knowing this, and we're calling them our heroes because we're willing to accept the $20 billion that they bring in.
Exactly.
But we don't want to accept the responsibility of putting their house in order back here.
Yeah, we
Yun
don't-
yung masakit, di ba? Yun yung masakit sa,
Let's talk about Melchora. Who are the other nominees?
well, we have,
Ilang kayo? 3, 4? You need
Lima,
5.
lima.
You need 5 nominees.
we have 5.
Do you think Brillantes, Comelec Brillantes, Chair Brillantes will say, hindi ka naman marginalized. Eh, gaya yung ginagawa niya kay, the best example, of course, the security guard of the Arroyo guy. Di ba si Mike?
Ibo
You just
na
had to
apelido ko,
mention
ah.
that.
Hindi ka naman dynasty.
Ibo na apelido ko. Gusto ko na malaman mo.
Your partner's passed on it. No, I
Saka-
realize. But he will ask these funny questions, and these will be put to a test more than anything. And right now, he's in the hot seat because he's being contested with all the decisions he's making. Now, as it goes on, time is running short, and his answer to everybody is, tumakbo kayo sa Supreme Court. Now, in your case, the 4 other representatives, will it apply to you that you are not marginalized? Because obviously, you're not poor.
Well, kasi nga ang marginalized for me is relative.
Explain that part.
Okay.
Para marinig ng viewers natin.
Kasi you can be marginalized and yet not poor. Meaning, kasi hindi ka nasasakupan ng tamang batas. There's no...
Good
right?
point. Very good point. Yeah.
Walang... ang paghihirap naman ng dibdib o ng pag-iisip is... di ba, it defies if whether you're poor or you're rich. Kasi when you are poor in spirit, you really are poor in spirit. Wala ka nang, di ba? But these are things, that I think they should put in consideration. Na, how do you define ba talaga marginalized?
Ikaw, attorney,
Yes,
Legal
as I
network,
said,
truthful election,
no, as I
yan,
said,
yan.
underrepresented. So
It's-
you don't
yeah,
have a voice in Congress. You don't have someone representing you
What was the
in the
issue?
policy-making arena, in the lawmaking arena.
What
So
was
that
the
it.
issue with Mikey Arroyo? Hindi siya security guard, sinasabi nila. Di ba?
Yes,
Y-
we
yun ang
discussed.
inaway sa kanya eh. Na hindi naman ikaw security guard eh. Ngayon, inaaway Akbayan tsaka yung Gabriela. O Bayan, di ba? Nag-ano sila, nagbabanatan sila because you got 14, 15 million from the presidential family in the last election. You can't say that you're marginalized.
I think the question
Much
that
less Barakel, who's represented in government, supposedly. These are the issues that are coming out in the newspaper.
Yeah.
Tatawa ka sa'yo. Pero sige, give. Go ako dyan.
Parang-
No, I think the question that we should ask Grace now is how confident do you feel that you'll be accredited by the COMELEC? Of course,
Actually-
this is a very, parang, I want to say novel, but it's not really. It's just that if for the first time, somebody's going to fight for this kind of situation.
Maganda yung women's rights.
So, how confident do you feel that you'll be accredited by the
ako-
COMELEC for the 2013 election?
I am only praying for for chairman
You're
na.
very positive.
I am just trying to think that, when they cross-examined us, during the
Tapos na kayo.
The
tapos
hearings.
na, the hearing, after that, wala na. Talagang let God na ako, let go, let God. Parang sana maintindihan na lang nila what our cause is and they would see, that we are indeed fighting for the right thing. So, sana to give us a chance, to fight for our right of dignity and the right of happiness and the right to correct things that was made wrong. Or, alam mo yung i-accuse ka lang, Harry, subukan mo i-accuse ka ng hindi totoo. Hindi
I
ka
know what that's
makalaban.
like, yes.
Ang sakit? Na napakalalim ng sakit.
And I would say unfair.
Unfair. But do you think it only happens to me? Sa akin, hyped up, right? But nangyayari yan sa mga ordinary barangay. Diba? Affairs are being...
I think a lot of women can identify with what you're
Yeah.
saying and what we've been through,
Yeah.
especially since
One last question. Do you expect men to vote for Melchora? Do you want
hope
men?
so. After all, we're all running for the same freedom.
Nice answer. We're at the top of the hour. What quick message would you like to give to the viewer before we close the show? In a couple of words. Vote for Melchora. Consider Melchora. Or women. We have
Because
rights.
Yes. Actually,
Basically.
that's what I want to say. For every human being there is, or for every Filipino, I think I would like to say that one, kailangan lakasan natin yung loob natin. And we should know our rights. And we should learn how to fight for it. Alam mo kasi we were taught to be timid.
Oo nga.
Diba?
That's
To a fault. We are too resilient to a fault. Na minsan inaapak-apakan na tayo, aatrasan ka pa. Hindi ka pa rin kikibo. Tatanggapin mo na lang lahat. Mali eh. Kasi meron tayong karapatan na binigay ng Diyos at ng tao, pinataw ng tao. That's why may government tayo. If we are not given that right, diba? Bakit pa tayo may gobyerno? Diba? You get my point. It's I think the right of every person to rise up for every fall.
Well, we're gonna have to end the show, Grace. Hindi ka naman dynasty, di ba?
Hindi mo nag-iisa nga ako eh.
Attorney, quick message, ikaw.
Yes, well, I wish you good luck for the
Thank
upcoming
you.
elections and the accreditation as well. Ako kasi, napansin ko lang there's a rise in movies aside from after your incident,
I know,
of course.
it's,
So I'm thinking, this is a problem
claim to
that's
fame.
closer than I think it is. So I think a lot of people can identify with your advocacy. So good luck with that.
Sana nga na, di ba, maraming mga, lalo na kababaihan ang tumulong sa amin, makiisa sa amin, sa paglaban namin dito sa advocacy na to. After all, it is for all of us, It's not just for me, for mine to use or for mine to enjoy, but I think everyone has the right to have the right.
We're gonna have to end the show. Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you've enjoyed our program. We're gonna have to put this to a close. I wish we had more time. Maybe we can invite Melchora back again here as
Yeah,
time goes
so-
on to help us enlighten us on all the different issues. Alam niyo po, when you decide to vote, when you go out to vote, it's not when you decide. It is your duty to vote. When you go out there, you vote for your district congressman, your representative. But you are required to vote one party list. So consider Melchora when the time comes. Learn more about it. It stands up for not just women's rights, but for human rights. We hope you've enjoyed our program. Thank you very much. My name is Harry Tambuatco. Stay tuned on GNN. There's more, much more right here for you. Thank you very much.
You are what you watch.